Good mythical afternoon. This is Mr. Ayala with your very first vlog for the unit on Andrew Jackson, the Democratic Party, and the Whigs. As always, please make sure that you are listening to the information being spoken, because some of it I'm not going to write down. And if you weren't there to complete this in class, this might be a good time to catch up on some notes. So to start with, let's look at our objectives. You will be able to explain the controversy surrounding the election of John Quincy Adams. You'll be able to describe the tenets of Jacksonian democracy, and you're also going to be able to identify the concept of the spoil system. So, the first thing first, in the election of 1824, four people end up running as the Democratic Republicans. We have John Quincy Adams, who represents the Northeast, William Crawford, who represents the South, Henry Clay and Andrew Jackson, who both represent the West. And if you remember from last unit, the Federalist Party is slowly but surely disappearing and will no longer be a viable national political party. So more or less, they're gone. Don't think about the Federalists. They are now no longer should be in your brain. So from there, the election of 1824, we get Jackson winning the popular vote, but between the four, the Electoral College vote is split and no one wins the majority. So of course, anytime no one wins the majority of the Electoral College, it goes straight to the House of Representatives. And the House of Representatives ignores the popular vote and gives the win to John Quincy Adams with Henry Clay's support. So John Quincy Adams, which is John Adams' son, becomes president number 6 with the help of Henry Clay. And Andrew Jackson feels that he was robbed. He calls this the corrupt bargain, and immediately in 1825 begins for president in 1828. So during the election of 1828, the Democratic Republican Party is having a lot of infighting, and the Democratic Republican Party begins to split between John Quincy Adams and Jackson. Jackson is seen as the common man at this time period, while John Quincy Adams is seen as the wealthy Easterner. Sorry about that, my phone just kind of went off. So from there, we get the ideas of Jacksonian democracy begin to spread. Because our voting rights begin to be expanded upon multiple people. Make sure you write this down. Prior to the election of 1828, only white men with land over the age of 21 could vote. So that's prior to 1828, so the election of 1824. After the election, so during the election of 1828, more common men could actually vote because it was voting rights were extended upon to all white men over the age of 21. So more and more people can vote, and more and more of what we would consider the common man. So, and reminder, at this time the common man is considered white men. Women won't count for approximately another 100 years, and African Americans will not count until approximately the end of the Civil War. So Jackson wins the presidency overwhelmingly because of his ability to be shown as the common man, not as a wealthy Easterner who feels he is above everyone. To quote Andrew Jackson, "I feel bad for a man who cannot spell a certain word at least 3 different ways." So more or less saying that that John Quincy Adams' education is a concern. So Andrew Jackson is considered the first people's president. He's what we call a populist, as in the majority of the people like him. He supports popular ideas. He starts out very humble. He's from the West. He's from Tennessee. The Democratic Republican Party begins to split apart. You get the first he becomes the first Democrat Party, and this is where we get the idea of the donkey or the jackass. So more or less the reason why the Democrats get this is the newspapers at the time always called Jackson and his jackass Democrats. And Jackson being himself, he's like, you know what, I like that name, I'll take it. So that's how the Democrats get the donkey as their symbol. I know, go figure. And then those who did not support Andrew Jackson, who were in the Democratic Republican Party, splits off and become the Whig Party. That's spelled W-H-I-G. So his early life. So his father and mother died when he was really young, and he was an orphan. He ended up fighting in the American Revolutionary War at age 13. And when he was captured, because he was a runner for some of the spy rings, the British actually beat him. And this is why he has a big old scar on the side of his face. So his hatred for the British is very, very strong. So he, of course, will fight the British in the War of 1812 during the Battle of New Orleans and become the most famous American and a war hero during this time period. Later will accidentally, with quotes in the air, invade Florida under James Monroe's tenure in office and help get the Adams-Onis Treaty signed. His nickname will be known as Old Hickory, and he really loves his wife a lot. He actually will end up making his wife's ex-husband fleeing to Mexico because he's that terrified of Andrew Jackson. So shortly after he takes office, his wife dies. So he ends up blaming the campaign and the nasty attacks in the media for killing her. And this becomes a major issue, and this will continue throughout his presidency. He's very particular about how people act around him. The average citizen, aka the white man over 21, was thrilled at his inauguration. And after Jackson completes his inauguration speech, he ends up having a major party at the White House. And when I mean major party, I mean like a frat house party. I mean, people are rolling in barrels of whiskey. There's bodies hanging out of the door, out of the windows, clothing from the chandeliers and from all the different items. And what ends up happening is it gets so crazy that Jackson ends up just going down the street to a hotel and staying there. So the White House was trashed afterwards, and Congress, especially the Whigs, were really upset about all the damage that was done, because this is more money that we have to take out of the Treasury. So we get to a brand new political era, what we call Jacksonian democracy, and as a quick review, is because the more average people could vote, we ended up with a larger constituents, and populism begins to spread. And Jackson starts this idea of the spoil system in our government, and this is the idea that to the victor goes the spoils. He won the presidency. Shouldn't he choose his supporters to be in his cabinet and to have federal jobs in the federal government? So just like President Trump, when he ran the presidency, he puts his political supporters in cabinet positions. So this could be either considered positive or negative, depending on your perspective. And as always, don't forget to be awesome.